think that sort of communication, the difference between writing something down, whether if I'm typing it or if I'm sending an email, is really a difference of medium.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a difference of intent, nor is it a difference of even boundary. There is an idea that I can sort of physically put a letter in an envelope, or I can write a journal entry down in a book, and either of those things are self-contained, and I might even control the access to those things, whether I put the letter in a lockbox somewhere, or I have the journal sort of hidden somewhere. And so when we transfer over to the estate, right, we would think that maybe you would also think of that as your email account as very similar to a locked door in your own bedroom.
So I think it's a little bit, the distinction is this. If you have a locked box in your bedroom, the law in the intangibles world, which is emails, intellectual property, they're going to assume you didn't want someone to access it. And they're saying, we don't want you to go and access it. And these tech companies are saying, we're not going to act as a locksmith because you locked it. If you wanted someone to go and look at it, it wouldn't have been locked, so we're not going to act as it. And they have ample legal ground to do so. In fact, it's the right decision. So, but one of the issues is, I think it's much easier to give that lock code to someone and say, you keep that, than it is to give a password to someone. Because your password, it's good practice to change your password. You should be changing your passwords. And I don't think it's effective to put your passwords, for example, in wills or trusts or anything like that. Because your passwords change, and if they've changed, that person is out of luck. And frankly, you might be putting that person at risk given the ambiguities in law. Now, will you frankly be prosecuted for that? No, if you're doing the person's wishes. But essentially what needs to happen and what's starting to happen, and we'll go over what some of the major tech companies are doing, is they need to allow you to grant access, and they need to, if you want to, and they need to have terms of use and provisions that make sense for where we are today. Right now, Yahoo still deletes. You are not allowed to go. Yahoo does not have a way to designate someone else as your beneficiary to go in. For example, Google does, Gmail does. They have and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Facebook does.
Facebook recently.
Very recently.
And the only reason Facebook has it is because they've had such scandal with their PR. Is the only reason that Facebook has allowed designation.
It's the only reason any
or maybe Sheryl Sandberg and her husband passing away.
It predated that. I think 2013.
Yeah, so the reason it came up was there was a live suicide in 2013 that they couldn't get down even on Facebook's back end. And so that's why Facebook allows designation of ownership.
They also got sued by a father who tried to understand why his son committed suicide. So the father went through the steps of using the court system to gain access to his Facebook page to try to understand.
Yeah, anything Facebook does, I'll just put this out there. I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook. I don't care for Mark Zuckerberg. But anything Facebook does is either because it's going to affect them monetary-wise or they are getting bad PR. It's not for the benefit of good or for humanity.
But Facebook, if you want to relocate to Fairfax, we will reassign Rachel somewhere else. Rachel, you just got a promotion to the other county. Okay, why are some people here right now? So just like kind of raise your hands just randomly. Okay, you ma'am.
Besides the fact that I'm supporting Rachel and Tia is my friend.
Yes. She's a friend to us all.
No, because I'm doing a lot of work on ancestry now and developing my family tree. And I know there are certain things like people in my family will be interested, or my daughter will be interested at a later time. But is it now? And I want her to, in quotes, inherit that information.
Awesome. Email?
I have an online platform that connects parents and expecting parents to fully vetted nannies. So I
Right, as the owner, what happens if someone like were to pass away and what's your responsibility?
I do have nannies who are in their 50s and 60s, and they're great nannies, so, but you never know, something
Yeah,
could happen.
stressful work. Yeah. Anything else? You, ma'am.
We had a neighbor pass away from cancer years ago, but her family had to decide to keep her Facebook up or not. And for several years, people would post on her birthday. I don't know if they do it anymore. I haven't seen it, but it's a question.
Great. So just, a lot of interest about sort of other parties and what options do we have to communicate with those platforms, and maybe if we're starting a startup, what sort of responsibility should we think about in terms of developing a responsible platform? I think it kind of gets to this idea of responsibility.
It does, and I think this is a good segue to what you can do. There are, I looked at Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn to see what options they offer. And Facebook allows you to create you can go right now onto your Facebook account and designate whether or not you want a legacy, set up a legacy contact, which is someone who will have access to your account. And you can also designate in Facebook whether or not you want an account.
Almost like a virtual obituary that lives forever, like a memorial page.
And what they have done is, apparently Facebook has learned from that experience, is sometimes when people die, people troll that family, unfortunately. So they have gone and they disabled comments from people who are not friends. They have disabled
It's also changed the back end of the algorithm for Facebook. So if you do have a friend that has passed away and they're still on Facebook, and the reason you're not seeing them pop up so much, Facebook heard those feedbacks of people being like, I don't need a time hop that, we've been friends for 10 years and you're gonna make a really sad slideshow and like emotionally manipulate me. Use that for your sales tactics, don't use that just for emotional gain. So Facebook has learned from that.
So you can go do that right now, and you can opt to do that or to delete your account. And then if you don't do that, the person who is in charge of your will can provide, there's a form that you fill out, it's about 1 page, and all Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn have the same exact form. Essentially, you go, you tell them your name, you say the person passed away, and then you have to provide some proof that that person passed away.
Whether it's an obit, well, there's some of the social platforms that you have to provide proof of death. So whether or not that's an obituary or the death certificate. So
You can also show a power of attorney, which is where planning comes into effect. I could also talk about Google, which is the most interesting one.
Not Bing?
Not that one. Not Bing, unfortunately. Google went and created a very unique instrument to handle these situations. They have an inactive account manager. So you set the amount of time that your account is inactive for. And if your account has been inactive for X amount of period, it will send you a reminder saying, hey, your account's been inactive, and if you don't respond, don't respond. You can set up the person to have access to your account, and they will automatically have your password. Their password will be given to them, or you can set to delete. This is very important because Google is not going to let someone into your emails. They are not. If you want to get into someone's emails after they have passed, you're gonna need court documents. And in those cases, Google will drag their feet.
I think it's also important to note a lot of younger individuals have dual security passwords, so whether or not that's their phone or they're getting a text message. So it's important if someone who's younger passes away not to deactivate their phone right away, because you may need it to get into their accounts.
Wow. Randomly, has anybody read about Neuralace? Elon Musk? Obviously, the A students up here have. So Elon Musk announced a new initiative, new company about 3 or 4 months ago, and his basic point was that we all have like a digital layer that is existing separate from us. And I think that if we think about like the last 5 or 10 years, you see sort of like the digital world becoming more and more blended with the real world. and it seems like some of this is about ceremony and about how we would treat like a physical body in passing, just as we get more and more information digitized of that person. It's like, how do you treat that body of knowledge that they've been sort of storing away? Which then gets to this point about it existing independent of life and going to this idea of AI and being able to sort of pre-feed or for technology to sort of mimic the personality and the thoughts of somebody, because, you know, they know that you're always gonna like Fast and Furious 9, so when Fast and Furious 9 comes up, they're gonna be like recommending it, and they're like gonna always be like, oh my god, Girls is canceled, and they're gonna be all sad when like Girls is canceled. You're gonna have that like connection. So who here, I'm just thinking, just generally speaking, is interested in this idea of existence after death?
Oh, nobody. Thank you.
Digital so
Oh, no, we have someone.
we have
Can we ask why?
Yeah, I think I sort of figured this would be something this conversation would lead to, because I think we're at this very initial stages of social media where I think a few decades from now this will be common sense. What to do with our accounts after we die, I think it will be part of the whole process. But I do get the neuralize, I do get what you're talking about, and I do get the idea that, you know, there is part of us which is our thoughts and our ideas and our and our basic, you know, way of looking at life, and maybe those conversations with our loved ones would still remain as an AI, but you know, there's also that sort of more deeper sort of.
So I actually have a question for you. Have you ever seen, who here has seen the Netflix series Black Mirror?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 episodes that I'm thinking of that in regards to AI for you. There's the season 3, Be Right Back, in which she downloads all of her fiance's data and creates this artificial intelligent bot. And then this last episode of this last season, season 5, is San Juniper, where a woman gets her, you know, her heaven, where her consciousness is downloaded into her ideal situation. And everyone's like, that's so far in advance, we're not there yet. But I think we are already there, especially since the episode that I'm talking about, Be Right Back, where the woman's husband, or future, whatever, husband dies in an accident. That was in 2013 they made that episode. You can absolutely do that. There are companies in Fairfax that already are doing that. There are companies that InternMe does that, where your family can still talk to you. They can chat with you if they have any voice recordings. So how many of you have an Amazon Alexa? Or a Cortana, or talk to your Siri? How many talk to your phone? Nobody talks to their phone. Okay, if you all have phones on you right now, I promise you that any of the conversation we're having tonight will pop up in your advertising. Your phone is perpetually echo marketing, so it hears everything you say, unless your phone is off.
I thought there was a keyword to say to sort of open that up.
Yeah. When you agree to the terms of service of downloading multiple mobile applications, you're agreeing to them listening to your conversations.
I didn't write that.
Yeah.
Next time we're gonna have hard liquor. So, you want to be the 4th panelist? It's cool.
I mean, I think I just want to sort of get a sort of parallel to the discussion going on, because I think I do understand what the conversation's about of, you know, ourselves and after we pass away, or, you know, what we believe in or what we want our families to have or whatnot. I get that part of it, right? And then there's the other part of it that you're bringing up, which is the neural things, which is, you know, how we think as a person. And with my girlfriend or my wife or my sister would still be able to talk to the idea of things.
Well, so here's like the sort of basic, like, just to like make it really real about how this technology pervades. So if anybody here uses iPhoto, and you're in a relationship with anybody, and you like take a lot of pictures, and let's say you travel to different places, and let's just say like you no longer are dating that girl or that guy, you can like still go into iPhoto, and you probably have like a shared album in which you can basically track like fairly well your relationship, right? which sort of is existing independent of like anything, and that's kind of real. Or I remember like this idea of like Gmail, when Gmail came out 15 years ago, 12 years ago. You know, it's like, oh, I remember exactly when I met her because I sent her that message because I had her email address, and then you can just see all the threaded conversations, and that's kind of like there for her unless you delete it. So we are absolutely going into a realm of where nothing is forgiven, and now because of technology, we're going into a realm of anything can be relived.
I think also the conversation comes up of digital hoarding. How many people do not delete emails? Okay, I'm at inbox 0. I don't believe in keeping stuff. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, that email I sent 20 years ago, I wish I still had it. I'm like, I don't need this. Like, if I don't recall it in like 3 months, I'm like, bye, see ya. But my dad has 25,000 emails.
I beat that.
That's just on his personal. That's not even his work one.
I beat it, all of that work.
Are you a digital hoarder?
I like having my information there.
No, she's responsible. This is interesting. Like, what sort of values do we have to this idea of collection? So you're saying digital hoarder. I'm saying that she's being responsible and nostalgic, and so. And it's nice to be able to memorialize relationships from their beginning, middle, and end.
So I will say this, I don't use it for that. I feel like when we talk about AI and the future, I feel like that's not about us as much as the people who are surviving. And I don't necessarily, and I'm going to be proven dead wrong about this, but I don't necessarily see us going too much in that direction, because I feel like we look at that and we say that's unhealthy for the survivors. Now, they will try. People will try, and it's a natural inclination to want things to go on. But I more keep it just so I remember who's my nanny 5 years ago, right? I have their contact information. I use it for factual information recall, not necessarily emotional attachment. It's different for everybody, though.
So just on kind of like, these are like really like heady conversations, and I can't really just think about real estate, but like what's the value of memory?